May 28th, 2026. It is now 7:09 p.m. Debbie, can you call roll, please?
Order.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
This evening, our invocation will be led by Councilmember Matt Brewer. If you are so inclined, would you please rise and join us as Matt leads the invocation and then followed by the pledge.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, we come before you with humble hearts and humble minds. Father, we ask for your grace, goodness, and blessings on all those that are here tonight, on the city of Kechi, and on this meeting. Father, we recognize you as our sovereign God. You instruct us in your word in 1 Timothy 2:1-2, to pray for all people, to ask you, God, for help, and to give thanks. You also instruct us to pray for those in authority, so that we can live peaceful and quiet lives marked by godliness and dignity. So, Father, tonight we want to pray for all those serving in our government, from the national level to the state level, and in our local communities. Father, that we would govern with wisdom and discernment, serving with goodness and humility. Father, I want to pray especially tonight for our troops that are serving to protect our nation. We pray for those serving overseas during this time of conflict. We pray that you watch over them, protect them, and bring them safely home. We pray for their families, that you will pour out your grace and goodness to them during this time of absence. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to serve our city and this community. I just pray tonight, Father, that you would guide us to listen attentively to one another and to the voices of our community. We pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Okay.
Mayor, is there an executive session tonight?
No, sir. Yes, so striking number 11. I would entertain a motion then for the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda, striking number 11.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Hedstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda as written. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Dwyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to communication section. Do we have Kechi civic groups or committees that would like to share anything this evening? Mary Buckle from the Farmers Market? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Mary from the Farmers Market. I'm your chamber representative for this year. I have a short report to give you. We have been busy preparing for the opening market, which is next Thursday evening, June 4th. We formed a 4-person advisory team and have chosen a market manager. We have several layers of alternative market manager backup in case of occasional illness or absence. We have 9 returning vendors with their paperwork complete and 3 more returning vendors pending paperwork. We have 5 brand new approved vendors, and there are about 8 others that have requested and received applications to join our market this year. Sadly, the original announcement of the chamber canceling this market effectively cost us one of our biggest produce vendors, and that would be Flying Toad Market. They are welcome back at any time this season or next if they'd like to come back. That being said, we have featured 2 vendors on our market Facebook page and have had over 37,000 views since late April. and we have 172 followers on our page. Engagement is up over 1,000% in the last month. We've invited several food trucks and will post on our market page when they could be attending. We're also reserving and promoting space to invite and feature local businesses. So reach out to us at the market or on Facebook, and if you have someone you'd like to suggest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Council, any comments, follow-up?
Mary, thank you for all your work on that. It's a blessing to our community to have to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other civic groups or committees that would like to speak this evening with announcements or anything else? Okay. We'll move on to community announcements. Council, does anyone have announcements that they would like to make? Okay. I have just a few. On Tuesday nights, the place to be is the Kechi United Methodist Church Community Dinner from 5:30 to 7:30. Come and enjoy a free dinner and connect with your neighbors. The Kechi Citywide Garage Sale Day is June 13th, all day. If you want to be on the official garage sale map, applications can be turned in and permit fee paid at City Hall or to the Kechi Fair Committee. Deadline to register to be on the map is June 10th at 5 p.m. The K254 Interchange Study has announced their next public open house for June 4th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Wichita Northeast Magna High School, which is over at 5550 North Lacey Street in Bel Air. At the open house, KDOT will share the proposed interchange concept along with proposed short-term and long-term improvements along the corridor between Rock and Greenwich. Public feedback is desired to further refine improvement recommendations. The brush site is open on the second Saturday of each month, and the next date is June 13th from 8 a.m. to noon. And congratulations to the Kechi Farmers Market that next week is opening evening. Okay, we will move on to addressing previous public comments. Is there any response to any comments that were made last meeting? Okay, seeing none. Debbie, do you have sign up for public comment this evening?
Heather Carty. Present.
So when you come to the podium after your call, please give your name, your address, and then you'll have 5 minutes to share your comment with council. Thank you. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you very much. Please excuse my voice if it trembles a little bit. Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and thank you for your service to the city of Kechi. My name is Heather Carty, formerly Heather Griggs. My family has long-standing roots in this area, and I care deeply about the character of this community and the relationship between local leadership and the public. I want to be very clear that my comments tonight are not anti-law enforcement, nor are they driven by politics. I respect the difficult work officers do, and I recognize that public safety is a serious responsibility. My concern is about leadership, communication, and the long-term impact certain public approaches can have on vulnerable individuals and families. Initially, I spoke out because of concerns involving my own family. However, over time, it became clear this was not an isolated situation. This was not about one person or one family. This was a situation that became evidently clear to me unknowingly before I spoke out that it involved multiple people. What concerns me most is that the conversation has increasingly shifted toward defending a particular style of social media policing, the modern day policing, rather than seriously examining the potential human impact of those methods, especially on people already struggling with mental health issues, addiction, trauma, crisis, or just emotional distress. As both a social worker and an addictions counselor, I have spent decades working with vulnerable populations. I fully understand the importance of accountability, but accountability and public humiliation are not the same thing. Public safety and human dignity should not be treated as opposing values. From my perspective, when public authority becomes heavily tied to online attention, public ridicule, repeated engagement, and viral exposure, the risk of escalation increases, not decreases. That risk does not only affect the individual being targeted, it affects the families, the children, the community trust, and potentially officer safety as well. I also recognize that there appear to be differing opinions within local leadership itself regarding these communication practices. In many ways, I believe that this makes an even more important conversation for the community to have thoughtfully and respectfully. My hope is not to create division or hostility. My hope is simply that vulnerable people do not become secondary to publicity, engagement, or online attention, and that restraint, professionalism, de-escalation, and compassion remain central values in public leadership. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and I sincerely thank you for listening respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, please. I really appreciate you being willing to come forward and speak and share with the governing body and for the public as well. So thank you for being willing to do so.
Thank you for the consideration.
Sorry, do we have anyone else? Sarah McMillan. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Sarah McMillan, 2312 East Quadira Street. I know Councilwoman Long is not here, and I did want to address some things that I brought up before, so I will briefly touch on those too. She had asked for time to examine the information that I had addressed last time, and I know that at one point she did make a vague reference to there were times that she did mess up. But what I would like to point out is that she has been able to, I would assume, then verify the information that on numerous times she did fraudulently use the city's tax exempt status for personal purchases. And what makes it even more evident that she knew what she was doing is there were plenty of times in between where she chose not tax exempt, and then the next purchase would be tax exempt status from what I had requested and what I had seen. And she had done a really good job of verbalizing her expertise in understanding financing and the law. And to me, that just even makes it even more apparent that, at least I would assume from the outside looking in, that she had an understanding of what actions she was taking and the implications of what those could be. And even if she didn't, each occurrence of those is a violation of Kansas law, KSA 79-3651, which would be a misdemeanor violation for each individual occurrence. Between this and the fact that her nephew, who was a registered sex offender for raping a child under the age of 14, was working here while she served as director of finance and looked like director at HR at that time too, does seem to contradict her earlier statements that she always put the city of Kechi and the residents first before anything else. I am also disappointed that there hasn't been any comment made by Mayor Harris in regard to that. And I know there are some things that she cannot address based off of her position. And I know that she also did not address the body cam footage or make a reference to what that review was like. And the rest of us don't know because we were not privy to it, but it did appear that some people were able to view it and report off of what they saw. As a layperson, it seems like she hides behind the I cannot make a public comment on it when it's convenient for her, but when it doesn't fit a narrative, she steps back. She often will state other things about people publicly, but not these situations, which is very concerning, especially since she ran on a platform of transparency and accountability. And that's all I am asking for as well. Another thing that I know I spoke about earlier was that my concern about her showing up to different board meetings and what felt like sitting there that she was pushing an agenda and that if someone wasn't going the way she wanted it, that she would get upset and then keep trying to push that. in the most recent one, it appeared that happened at the Planning Commission. And I'd just like for her to step back and recognize that, yes, as she has the title of mayor, but that does not give her the authority to go into different boards to attack the character of people on those boards who differ on her opinions, or to push her title into making them or swaying them to vote in a specific direction. I also wanted to address the recent motion. I'm going to read this part just because this part kind of gets a little hard for me, but wanted to address the recent motion to not reappoint Chief Moore. Having a law enforcement agency that is accessible and responsive to a community is extremely unusual. We are blessed with officers who have experience and high moral character. Leadership sets the tone and drives the culture of every agency. This town has amazing people who care and want the best for our community. I've had the unfortunate experience of seeing what a corrupt agency looks like. Complacency, disinterest, and corruption become an infestation, and as a result, the entire community suffers. When I hear people talk about defunding our police department and relying on Sedgwick County Sheriff to patrol this area and leave us open and vulnerable to save money, or to infer that there's corruption and inappropriate behaviors, it is a disservice to every single officer who's willingly putting their lives on their line daily for us. These officers continue to show up, even when there is hate and character assassinations being posted daily. Even after witnessing the darkest parts of humanity, they still choose compassion, courage, and service. May I just share this part is just a personal experience that I had with Kechi PD.
Thank you, but you had your 5 minutes.
It is the reason why people have been able to go over in other settings. I promise it's not going to be very long. It's actually taking me longer to say this. I just am asking for just this briefly.
If you can wrap up.
Okay. My very first experience with Kechi PD. On October 9th, 22-year-old Elijah Best, an Army veteran, made suicidal threats to his friends. None of these friends lived in Texas. They immediately tried calling anyone and everyone for help, including El Paso PD and Fort Bliss, where his last location is known. They kept calling until El Paso PD finally said they'd do a welfare check. It sounded like there had been a missing person case opened on him. Over the next few days, they kept trying to get updates. Eventually, they were told that not only had nothing been done, but they would not take their report over the phone. They told them they had to do it within their local community. I had no idea what to expect when I walked into the Kechi Police Department. I was there to ask them to open a missing persons report and a welfare check on a person who lived in a different state. Deputy Chief graciously took all of the information I had and reassured me he would do everything he could, and he did. From calling El Paso and Fort Bliss to helping me find Elijah's family and arranging a search party, he never gave up. Kechi PD was the official and only agency on Elijah's case. While El Paso informed us they don't work past 4 p.m. or on the weekends, there is no detective available for us to speak to. Kevin made sure we knew we could contact him at any time. Elijah struggled with his demons and often felt alone in this world. I wish he could have seen how many people cared for and fought for him. That he could have met the strangers who worked to move heaven and hell to bring him home. Elijah was found on October 18th. It was unfortunately too late. Unfortunately too late to save him. But we were able to bring him home. While we will always have questions, we will never have to wonder if he was still alive or what happened to him. Only because of Kechi did this happen. Our family will always be grateful for her local heroes. Kechi PD works tirelessly to serve our community. They have demonstrated over and over again that they care about all of us, no matter how we do them. And I really hope that the public could see the side of them that saved a lot of continued potential heartache and just moved heaven and hell
for a kid they never knew, and for a veteran.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me that.
You're welcome. Council, any response? Thank you. Debbie?
Sonia Bauman.
Sonia, welcome.
Good evening, Sonia Bowman, 612 North Creek Trail Cycle. Kind of prepared my own paper and I'll read it, trying to think in a time constraint. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and members of our community. I am speaking tonight because the people in this town are not getting answers, and that is unacceptable. This is not a routine personnel matter. The decision not to recommend the reappointment of Police Chief Moore directly impacts public safety, officer morale, and the trust of this community, yet the public has been given little to no explanation. Let me be very clear. When leadership makes a recommendation that's significant and does not clearly explain it, that is not transparency, it is failure of leadership. This community deserves better than silence. People are asking straightforward, reasonable questions. What led to the recommendation? What concerns justify it? And why has this not been openly communicated? If there are valid reasons, then share them, because right now the absence of information is creating doubt, and that doubt is damaging trust. Let's be honest about the impact. Confidence in leadership is being eroded, and that responsibility falls on those making recommendations without an explanation. There is also a border concern that cannot be ignored. Many in this community see inconsistent support and recognition among town employees, especially when it comes to our police officers. These men and women serve under pressure and risk every day. They deserve visible, consistent support from our leadership. When that appears lacking or selective, people notice, and it matters. Perception becomes reality, and right now the perception is not good. This is not political, it's not personal. This is about accountability, leadership, and unity. Mayor, you ask for the trust of this community. Trust is not claimed, it is demonstrated. And right now, the community is not seeing that demonstration. So let's be clear about what is being asked. Explain the recommendation, provide the reasoning, be transparent with the people you serve. Because avoiding this issue will not make it go away. It will only deepen division and distrust. The people of this town are paying attention, and they are forming conclusions based on what they are seeing and what they are not being told. And I will say this plainly. I support Chief Moore. I support our officers, and I support this community's right to honesty, accountability, and leadership that promotes unity, not division. This council has a choice. Address this openly and begin to rebuild the trust, or continue down a path that divides this community. Doing nothing is not acceptable anymore. The community is watching. The community expects answers. At a minimum, this situation should be handled in a way that strengthens and not weakens this department and community. That starts with transparency and working towards resolution, not division. I challenge you. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any response? Thank you. Appreciate you sharing.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Cheryl Hobson.
Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. Cheryl Hobson, 622 North Shawnee Circle. First off, just wanted to give a little appreciation and thanks to our mayor. Appreciate all the last 2 years of the strength that you have shown, showing up to every single meeting that we have here. Your knowledge of process and procedure, more than anyone I think that's in this room, actually. Appreciate that the fact that you question the things that are not open, like, and obvious to everyone, like our budget and all of the money that comes in and out of this town. I appreciate also your strength in the, let's call it what it is, Facebook attacks that have been recent. I appreciate the fact that you don't bow down to that and that you hold your head high. Thank you. We voted for you because of all of that. I also want to give some appreciation to our police chief and to the police department. I appreciate everything that you do. I see you guys out and about, and I appreciate all of the safety that you bring to the community, to the community involvement. I think that's utmost important for everyone. So that also brings me to the subject of moderation and how and compromise and how that we need to, as a council, as a mayor, as a police department, city administrator, we all have to get along, we all have to compromise, and we all have to act in moderation, not in extremes. None of this is extreme. It shouldn't be extreme. But yet, we, community, all of us, tend to make it that way. And we don't have to. Do I agree with everything that everybody says up here? Absolutely not. Do I agree with everything the mayor says? No, I do not. But I respect it. I respect what we do here. You know, I love the humor. I read the social media. Do I think that maybe once in a while, you know, it's like, could we be in trouble? Maybe, you know. I think there's moderation. So I do appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is someone coming up here and attacking a council person that's not even here. That is wrong.
No.
And if they want to attack somebody, wait till they're here. Wait till the next meeting. See them, talk to their face. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any response? Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Debbie?
April Owens.
Welcome, April.
April Owens, 602 North Prairie Creek Drive. I've been coming to the council meetings for probably 3 years, 2.5, 3 years now. And I usually sit and I don't say anything and I observe and I listen and I learn how the government works and how it doesn't work. And I'm frustrated with our community. I don't want to share that because I know this community is embarrassing our town with the way they behave online. And I'm not even online, guys, and I'm hearing all this. I've never in my life been a part of Facebook because it's a place where ugliness lives and I don't want anything to do with it. And it's ugly and it's so nasty because everyone that's saying the things they're saying, because I'm getting screenshots sent to me by friends and I'm reading these things and I'm just floored and angered by the ignorance in the comments. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand why Joni made appointments and didn't make appointments because they're not here. If they were here, they would understand. And if you don't understand something, just stop. Stop talking. Come down here. Thank you all for coming because a lot of you are here for the first time and I'm grateful. But come here and listen and learn and understand and then speak. Do the time, do the understanding. Every single person that's elected on this council and all of our police officers, our administrators, they deserve our respect. They're good people. All of them are good people. Everyone in this room has the heart of everyone in Kechi in their interests. They will our good. And we are making it very difficult on them to do a good job. And they deserve our support and our respect and our direct communication to their faces. So they can give their feedback, they can give their knowledge, they can explain things that you're upset about because you have no reason to be upset. I sat in every meeting where the things happened and I love you, Chief, I love you. But the meeting where you and the whole incident, I was very disappointed. I love my kids. I will tell them when they're doing something they shouldn't do. In that meeting, you made me afraid. I didn't feel safe. You were advancing towards the mayor. You were aggressive. You were referencing your weapons, and you were pointing your finger at her. I witnessed that, and that made me feel unsafe because I didn't know. I didn't know you. I've gotten to know you a lot better, but I didn't know you. And in that moment, I thought, is this guy going to lose it? I don't know. And I found that to be despicable that the council didn't say anything. No one spoke up. You're his administrator. You said nothing. You let it continue. That was unacceptable. I have great respect for you. I've watched you do your work for 2 years, 3 years now. You're doing a great job. But that moment, you let me down. And when you sat there and said you thought it was warranted, I felt let down. That kind of behavior is not appropriate in this professional situation. That is for behind closed doors. If you want to hash it out and yell at each other behind closed doors, please do so. But don't make this community confused about the unity that is true in this room. We're all in this together for one great goal. And if we can't get along on our local community level, there's no hope for this world. We're neighbors. We can walk across the street and talk to each other. This is where we connect with one another. It's not a place for division. And I just wanted to share that because I've sat back here quiet for 3 years and I just need that off my chest. And as far as the situation with Teresa Morris, we would not have a St. Paul. St. Paul was Saul, okay? And he killed people, but then he became St. Paul. If you cannot give her a new start in a new position and judge her on what's happening right now, then there's a real problem in your heart.
Yeah.
What happened then, she's already done, she's done the time, that's over. In this position, if you have issues with what's happening now, bring it. But the time for the crap that happened in the past was before the election.
Yep.
And it needs to stop. Because we're grown-ups. Let's act like we're grown-ups. This is not high school. This is not he said, she said. That's in the past. Leave it. It's already been dealt with. Yes, it has. And you're angry that you don't have answers, but there was a non-disclosure.
Okay,
You're
this
just gonna have
is
to accept
April's
that.
time to speak. Please let her speak.
Thank you for
And
listening.
you already had your time, more than your time.
Don't
We
get me
voted
started on
Teresa
the moral
in.
compass.
Teresa's
It
voted
needs-
Thank you for
Point
your
out to
time.
them,
Thank you
not
for
her.
listening. Sorry, I got a little emotional. I'm really frustrated with what's going on, and I'm hoping going forward, we can act like the professionals and the loving people and the God-fearing people in this room that we are. This is a good town. This is a good, holy town. Let's show that to the world instead of this disgusting, immature behavior that's going on the internet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Patty Spear.
Welcome, Patty.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, Mayor, everybody that's here.
somebody else can have most of my 5 minutes because I'm not gonna be nearly that long. My name is Patty Spear, 642 Creek Trail Circle. I know that there are people here that have lived in Kechi a lot longer than we have, but this will be our 26th year in Kechi, so we've seen quite a few different cycles of things go through our city here. First, I'd like to say I agree 100% with what Sonia Baumann said and with her comments. I too believe we have an amazing police chief in Chief Moore, and we support him 100% as well. Also, the city of Kechi has wonderful and dedicated city employees. And from our city manager and our city employees, and they deserve our respect and our support. And you have it here. I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Councilor.
Neva Benton.
Welcome, Neva.
Do you know legal name? I'm Neva Benton. I'm at 511 North Shawnee Drive. And what else are we supposed to say?
That's all.
Okay, just making sure. I just wanted to come up and also kind of share my support for Chief. One of the major reasons why we moved to Kechi when we did is because we are foster parents and adoptive parents, and our kiddos have a lot of mental health concerns, trauma that they've had to live with and deal with coming out of that, and it's a pretty huge and scary thing. And a lot of times when the police show up, it's because you're in the middle of a trauma, and it's a huge and scary and terrifying thing. And where we lived before in South Wichita, unfortunately, we didn't have the kind of support that we got when we moved up here. And I will tell you, we've had some pretty scary situations that have happened at our house. One being that my wife decided to randomly have a baby in our house in our bathtub. And the police were the first ones there. They beat the ambulance there. And I tell you, I think it's funny because the gentleman was so unsure of what to do. He stopped and got his wife, who was a vet, and brought her just in case. Okay, so I knew he cared and he wasn't sure what to do, but he was like, this is what I'm doing, right? I'm going to do this because I know I can help somehow. My oldest child has a lot of concerns with her mental health, and we've had to call a crisis line before. And I will tell you right now that we had multiple police in our house who sat there and talked and just showed concern and care and made sure that we felt like we were supported in those moments and we were really scared about what was going to happen. And that could have really led to a lot of trauma because our children are not white. They are not the typical person. When you look around this room, there's not a lot of that happens. And it's nothing to say anything about that because we still understand this community is really supportive and great and fantastic for all kinds of reasons. But I can tell you right now, every one of my kids knows Chief. They see him at every community event. He knows their names. They love him to death. They run up to him. They talk about him. They point it out when they see him. Every police car in the entire town is Chief, in case you're wondering. Doesn't matter. Anywhere else is that Chief. Because they understand that he cares about them. Every time he sees them, he has a great conversation with them. And I felt that at every community event I have been with him. I have felt that every time he's responded to something that we've been at, even down into his officers. I will be the first to tell you too, I've been pulled over in Kechi. Okay, I didn't agree with it. But what I didn't do is get upset about it when they were talking to me. Did I say, here's what I thought, here's what you thought? Yeah, we had that conversation, and that's totally fine. Everything was respectful and caring. If he had posted my picture and said, Neva was speeding through town today, I'd probably be like, yeah, dude, I'm really sorry. I usually try to set my cruise control because I know better about these kinds of things, and I know I'm going to get caught if that happens. But I understand that. And I will tell you, as someone who lives a little bit more on social media than other people might, because I do talk a lot and post a lot about things with my kids and other stuff that happens, I will tell you right now that that is kind of where we're going. It is what's allowing them to become more human. You may not have even seen it. Recently, Yellowstone National Park were posting things that people had a horrible response to. But I will tell you right now, no more people know what Yellowstone National Park looks like and is and went and experienced it and visited it than ever before because of it. And while it was super non-traditional, and did I agree with every single post they did? Did I like every song they posted? Some of them I didn't even really understand. But it did what it was supposed to do. It formed a relationship, and I feel like that's what Chief is doing. And that is a very modern thing that's happening. And I understand that there's always going to be a time that maybe you don't agree 100% with the one that he did. But I agree with his heart, and I agree with what he's done in our community, and I agree with the fact that I get texts and screenshots and things all the time too. And almost every time is, I can't believe your community has this active of a police chief. I can't believe he's out there doing all these things. This is amazing. That's what I hear every time. I have people at my job tell me. I've had people that I literally just said, I live in Kechi. I go, oh my gosh, I know. I follow your police's Facebook page. I love it. It's fantastic. I go every day to read what's going on. Those are the things that I hear. I understand there's an opposite side of that. I do. And I understand the concern of wanting to make sure that we are handling things appropriately. And I understand trauma and kids in mental health crisis and people in mental health crisis really well. I've been doing it for a long time too. I get it. I think that there is a time and a place, but there's also a chance to be able to say there are times we also have to set limits and make examples and things like that. And there's no other time that people have posted on Facebook to say, I wish the police would come help me with this. And they're okay with that. They're okay posting videos of somebody walking through their backyard, and that's perfectly fine. But it's not okay for the chief to do that as well. And so I don't know that we've called those kind of things into question either. And I'm not also saying that that's accurate or right or anything, but I am saying we have to hold a standard. And I just wanted to make sure I just talked to my support because, like I said, we feel unimaginable amounts of love from them and every single officer that's been there. I've stood in line, I've helped them serve hot dogs at the movie, I've walked around, I've talked, I've had conversations with them late at night when stuff is going on. And I will tell you that that's one of the most supportive people. And I have done ride-alongs in Wichita overnight with police officers before. And I will tell you right now, our police are amazing at what they do and how they handle scary, tough situations. And I can't be any more grateful for them than I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Nina. Debbie.
Janet Bradbury.
Welcome, Janet.
Quick. This will be quick.
No worries.
I promise. I am the secretary of the Art Council, and we are going to have a rehearsal program at the Playhouse on June the 4th, which means none of the vendors from the farmers market can come. So we're just asking all of you who haven't been to the Playhouse to see what's going on, that on June the 4th, for $10 at the door, I'm not going to sell you tickets so that you don't use. So if you want to come to the Playhouse, and we're going to be seeing everything I learned in kindergarten. So I think it's a cute thing. So if you show up, we're going to have a kind of a welcome.
A plaque dedication?
Well, yeah, the plaque
And
dedication.
like a celebration.
Yeah, and you're welcome.
Yeah.
Everybody's welcome. We're gonna have cupcakes.
What time?
That's supposed to start, I think,
I don't know what time it's
around 7, 6:30.
The play starts at 8.
The play starts at 8 o'clock. Yeah, I know when the play starts. But before, we're gonna have cupcakes out in front of the Playhouse, because we're going to put the plaque on the Playhouse. And this is because of the reconstruction that was done. And we have just put it off and put it off and put it off. But now we're going to get it put up because we had to keep having it redone. Because we didn't spell something right or something like that. So anyway, we invite y'all.
Debbie. Okay. Council, could I have a motion for a 5-minute recess, please?
Make a motion for a 5-minute recess. I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Dwyer. All in favor? What time will that be, Council President Hedstrom? You're usually the time.
7:58.
7:58. We'll be back. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to staff reports. First up is Thomas Bevan, Director of Public Works. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi. Council. Not a whole lot on here. A lot of it is basically the same old things. Repeat, rinse, repeat, mowing ditches, taking care of, all the grass that's starting to grow. Thankful for the rain because we were starting to get cracks, big cracks everywhere. So that's a blessing as long as it doesn't decide to do it for the next month.
Yes.
Things we've been doing. So we started changing out water meters, updating the system to a nicer, newer water meter, more accurate for the people that live here that are gonna have questions about their meters and their water bills soon. We've also started replacing some of the older meters that we have with some bigger meters that we can get into without having to tear up the yards and dig up whole meter sets. We did also do a gas leak survey for the whole city. And we did find some nuisance leaks, so homeowners didn't find those. We did actually find a few, so if you have one, please still call. Don't just assume that we found it already. But good to say we didn't find any underground leaks, so leaks that we would have to go out and classify and could be, have to migrate somewhere that we, would have to find. Didn't find any leaks inside any of the businesses. We do them every year also. If there is a leak, we give the business a write-up of, what they need to change or fix. So thankfully we didn't have any of those. A lot of meetings. We did do some street repairs on Upton Drive. Brought some rock in there, just temporary. Hopefully helps pack down in there. It can stay there and be used for later. So that way you don't have to tear it out and lose all that funds, that we paid for that rock. Got some quotes for street repairs. We're not working with APAC and with Pearson and with Kansas Paving to get the last of our street plan done. It was developed by PEC in 2014. So as soon as we get these roads done, we should just be back on to regular maintenance, which you'll start seeing us out there starting this year. I'm starting to do crack sealing for a lot of the roads that we repaired back then. They're starting to get a little stress cracks and stuff that we need to get sealed. So you'll start seeing us out there doing that too. But for the most part, just kind of waiting and seeing and mowing and waiting for things to happen, obviously, with the park. So we unloaded all that equipment last week. We did also mow and stuff for the fair, kite fair that went on, but I didn't add that to here. So, but that's pretty much where we're at now is street maintenance and park maintenance and mowing and weed eating and cut down and dig some ditches and cut down some tree limbs out of ditches and we'll see where it goes. But, any other questions?
I'm assuming our work's done in Turtle Creek, your work's done. It's just all in development now.
No, they called me today, so I don't know how it was missed. The dead end signs at the end were not put on the plans. And PEC called me about, 5:30 and told me that the inspector was out there and said, hey, we don't know how we missed it, but there's some dead end signs missing. You guys are going to have to get some signs and put them in. So that's all right. We'll get it taken care of. So no big deal. But for the most part, I think he said that they will be coming in next week to put in the final layer on top. So the final 2-inch cap. And then that road will be ready to open up for normal traffic.
Any update on the railroad?
No, I don't think so. The Union Pacific or the railroad, they kind of work at their own pace. I think they got a lot of political backing that I don't have. So if you guys, anybody knows somebody that's bigger than me or bigger than us, reach out. I mean, I think we even had a Kansas senator reach out and try to get the role.
Oh, wow.
And we heard back from them in like 2 days, but then it's been, I think, 6 weeks now since we've heard anything. So We'll wait and see. We're still working on the gas plan. We kind of got the initial what the city's needs are going to be, and we're just waiting. Hopefully next week they told me they would have the cost for those upgrades to the city. So I'm hoping to have that next week. So then there's some interesting things happen up at the KCC with gas and boundaries and how far we can run it, and got Black Hills and the KGS fighting over territory, and they're like, hey, what about the cities too? You can't step on theirs. So KMGA's up there been fighting for the city of Kechi and are outlining gas as we grow into the future. So they're at meetings last week. I talked to Dixie today, and they meet again and reconvene in 6 weeks. So we'll see where that goes. So kind of wait and see.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas.
Next up, 2-4 for Kechi Police Department. Keith.
Pretty short and sweet, council, but some good things. So moving out to PD, we had our opening for this year, this season. It was a hit. 200 plus people. Ran out of bread. Okay, had enough meat, ran out of bread. Incredible support, incredible time. Threw it all the way back to 1988 with Land Before Time, classic there, which actually coincided with the libraries doing dinosaur themed research and that kind of stuff in the community. So it was amazing, it was incredible. As a foster dog there running around trying to get adopted as well, just all kinds of outreach in the community, and it was absolutely wonderful. So stay tuned. We got some rain, so next movie at the PD may end up being a fishing derby. I don't know. You got to strike when the iron's hot and the pond is filling up. So hopefully we'll have a fishing derby coming up here pretty quick and get the kids out with fish poles and drown some worms, have a good time. National Police Week just concluded with Memorial Day. Wonderful, lots of support from all over, even the U.S. I mean, we got messages from abroad even on that. So it was good. Good hearing those kind of words. Too many snacks. I think we're going to have to do a height and weight and fitness standard coming up here pretty quick. If it keeps up, Methodist Church just dropped off 2 boxes of crumble cookies, and that does not go well for a summer diet. But we do appreciate it. It's wonderful. So thank you for that. I was able to attend the Valor Awards banquet this year. It's a humbling experience, especially having law enforcement coming off of a 4-officer loss. My bride and I got to sit with many giants. That's the best way to put it without getting choked up. I walked amongst a lot of giants at that banquet. Valor all across the state, men and women who exemplified what that badge stands for. And so it was an honor to hear their stories, their sacrifices, and the sacrifices of those who went before us. So humbling experience to say the least, but it was an honor to be there and represent. As far as here at home, costs continue to increase. DUI arrests are on the rise. You know, we're seeing stuff on 254 all the time. Wrong way drivers seems like it's an every other day thing for us. Continues to be a problem, and hopefully they get something done with the corridor over there. I know there's an association working on that, so that can't change soon enough. Memorial Day, we had a DUI at 4 o'clock right here on 61st Street. I mean, it's out there, and it's preventable. That's the heartbreaking part. It's preventable. So. And kind of, you know, in this conversation that we just had about the police department, how we function, how we work, I kind of want to use an analogy. All right, so we've all been in the kitchen, especially us men. We fry some hamburgers one night, and we take that skillet, we throw it in the sink, we run some hot water. We're gonna let that sucker sit because it needs to soak. What we need is we're gonna have a wipe clean later. But anyway, when you return to your chores, you look in there, and there's still a film of grease across the top. You take that one drop of Dawn dish soap, one drop. You drop it in the middle of that skillet. What happens? Grease goes instantly to the sides. That's displacement. Okay? It didn't clean up the grease. Not yet. That takes work. But it displaced the grease. That's how crime works. Crime is never gone, guys. It's never gone. It is displaced. And when you have an active police department who's proactive, making traffic stops, making arrests, I was seen on the side of the road yesterday on a felony traffic stop with my handgun out, taking down a stolen vehicle with 2 occupants that had methamphetamine in it. People drove by, saw it. I saw cameras up as they were driving by. That's awareness. That's people seeing us doing our job. And now this criminal element know this ain't the place. Go to Bel Air. Go to Wichita. Kechi is ours. And your police department stands on that. And we will displace crime. We will be out there. We will be active. We will be proactive. We'll make the Facebook posts. We're going to let you know. We're going to let the citizens know what's going on. Stolen vehicles, fentanyl, guns. It's here. But your cleanup crew is also out there. We're fully staffed. We're around the clock. And we're there.
Amen.
Any questions?
Council,
I have a
any
question.
questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, Dustin is on a beach in Mexico
Oh,
somewhere.
okay. Well, you
So
did for him.
he asked me if I would fill in and give his report tonight. His report is in front of you. I will let you look it over, and if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer.
Maybe give him some feedback on the sound system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little challenge.
Yeah, we tested it earlier this afternoon. It was working fine. I don't know.
Yeah.
The lights are all green.
They are. It shows that they're on, but it's not hearing anything.
And
So,
it's a new system. We'll get the lights worked out, and
okay.
it'll be perfect.
All right. So then we'll move on to administration. City Administrator Jinsky.
Mayor and Council, you have my report in front of you. In the interest of time tonight, I know we have a long agenda. I will just kind of highlight a couple things here. Debbie and Chris attended the International Clerks Conference in Reno, Nevada. They came back and had all kinds of stories about new things they had learned. They said it was very intense. They really didn't have much time to have fun because they had so many classes that they attended. So, but it was well worth the trip out there. Made a lot of contacts. Our department heads have submitted their wish lists for their budget. What their wish list is in a perfect world, if you could have everything you wanted in your department, what would it be? Doesn't necessarily mean you're getting it, but in a perfect world, what would it be? And that's kind of where we start, and then we start narrowing things down from there. So with that, we met with our financial advisor to start developing the CIP, and we'll talk a little bit more in the meeting about that tonight. Communication and technology, our new sound system's been installed, or audio system, or video system. I don't know about the audio part, but we'll get it worked out. Turtle Creek continues at a steady pace, and I attended several meetings that are on your list there. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Council, any questions, comments? I just have a request. Would it be possible for Chris and Debbie, not necessarily this meeting because we got a lot on the agenda, but maybe next meeting, share maybe a couple highlights of, what was really important for you to, a couple of the highlights from the conference that you went to Reno, and why it was good for you guys to go to that specific conference.
Well, the 12 quizzes that had 12 questions on each quiz was not a highlight.
Yikes.
Yeah, it went
Yeah, okay. So that would be great if you guys could just connect for the next meeting. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to unfinished business. Playground project update.
Let me switch screens here. I'll remove things. We're talking the system up, aren't we? I think I know the problem. There we go. One, yeah, passing.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
All right, we are in business. So, quick update on the park here. The right one. Okay, so this is a little graphic of what we ran into on the park project. As you know, the build was scheduled for June 5th. Our Public Works Department, Thomas sent a couple of his guys out and they started probing around, getting ready to tear out that equipment. And unbeknownst to us, there's about 36 inches of fill sand underneath the 18 inches of gravel that we have. Right below that gravel are drain tiles, which help drain any excess water off of that area down into the pond. So below that is just kind of what I would assume is a cesspool of probably stagnant water and sand and mud and everything else. So as you can see, that prohibited us from just tearing that out, throwing some new dirt in, bringing it up to grade, and being good. What we're going to have to do, we're working with our engineering company to figure out if this is it's going to be a viable site for something, but if it's going to be good enough or cost effective to put the playground equipment back in here. We know that once all that's excavated out, the fill dirt that we need to put in has to be compacted to 95% to support the footings and posts and everything else that goes in there. So what we really need before we further any discussion on if we're going to put it back in this exact place is it going to be cost prohibitive? Would it be better maybe to shift it slightly to the north or the south or on the other side of the gazebo? We don't know. We don't have those answers right now. So before we bring any options to you or any recommendations, I want to get those figures first so we can present those, so you can see those, and we can come up with where we're going to put it. What we know is we are still going to put it somewhere down there. The build is still going to continue. It's been continued to November 10. That was the only other date that they had. So we're pushing forward with that November 10th date. We should have something in the next couple of weeks from our engineers telling us how much it's going to cost to remediate that site. And then we can make a decision. Are we going to put it back there, or are we going to move it, or what are we going to do? But nonetheless, the project's still going on. We just need to figure out what we do exactly. So I don't want to, it would be fruitless to bring you information that I really don't have, or just assumptions that I have. So when we get that, we'll bring it back for council discussion and a little more direction from you.
Council, any questions? I just have one question. When those numbers come back, is there also going to be a comparison cost if it's going to be moved, involving PEC doing the design work for a different area? I mean, because you're still going to have that's going to be a cost that could be in there if it's going to be moved.
We'll have
correct?
everything. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
And please come to the park board meeting. They will be discussing that as well. All the changes.
Great. Thank you. Okay, moving on to annual appointments. I'm going to attempt to explain this, Andrew, and if I mess it up, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay, at the last meeting with appointments, when the motion failed, it actually caused every position to be unappointed for city employees. That's correct.
So that's where I'll stop you. So no one is unappointed. So the appointments may not have been made for the annual appointments at the regular May meeting. But all of the officers, since there weren't any change, all the officers were appointed at the May meeting in 25. So even if they don't get reappointed this year, they stay in those offices as appointed officers. They're not unappointed, and there's no vacancies. They stay until there's either a replacement, a resignation, or a removal.
Okay. So because it was a blanket appointment at the time and a motion failed, it's asking the council again if that's really what was the intent of what was done. And so we can go through these one position at a time and determine whether or not you want to consent to the appointment of each of the positions that are listed. Any questions? Okay. So I bring forth an appointment for City Attorney Andrew Kopar from Spencer Fane. Is there consent to appoint?
Do you need a motion?
You need a motion
Yeah.
and a second, yeah,
Yep.
so walk through some,
I'll make a motion to,
yeah.
I'll make a motion to appoint City Attorney Andrew Kovar from Spencer Fane.
I would second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Hedstrom, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Okay, City Treasurer, Krista Brown. Motion?
I move to appoint Kristen Brown.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Dwyer, second by Councilmember Baldridge, all in favor?
Aye.
City Clerk, Deborah Creekmore.
Make a motion to appoint City Clerk Deborah Creekmore.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Dwyer, all in favor?
Aye.
Deputy City Clerk, Krista Brown. Motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Deputy City Clerk Krista Brown.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Hedstrom, all in favor?
Aye.
Director of Public Works, Thomas Bevan.
Make a motion to appoint Director of Public Works Thomas Bevan.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Baldridge, all in favor?
Aye.
City Planner, Dustin Belton.
Make a motion to appoint City Planner Dustin Belton.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Dwyer, all in favor?
Aye.
Municipal Judge, Terry Beal.
Make a motion to appoint Municipal Judge Terry Beal.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Hedstrom, all in favor?
Aye.
City Prosecutor, Joy Williams.
Make a motion to appoint City Prosecutor Joy Williams.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Dwyer, all in favor.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to Huffman Road discussion. City,
Correction, Mayor, is in the, I don't know if this is gonna be referenced, but the state statute and the city code 1824-23 needs to be removed out of that. That's not applicable.
what's an applicable?
If this is gonna be appointed as part of the minutes.
Okay, Andrew, I know. I'm not following.
What's the other question?
So it references city code 1824-23, that's not applicable.
Oh,
I
you're
think
right.
it got left in there.
Oh,
It's like
it's-
it
it's
references
that's like an
it
ordinance,
references
that's like an
something
ordinance
else.
number or something,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It
The
probably
one
means
dash-
city code 1401 is what I,
That's-
yeah, it's
that's-
a typo in the agenda report.
Okay.
I didn't know if that was.
Thank
gonna be
you,
applied
you're
or-
correct. Yes, I did see that before. Okay. So that correction's made. So moving on to the Huffman Road discussion, City Administrator Dempsey.
Mayor and Council, I will try to keep this as brief as I can, but there's a lot of content on this agenda item here. So I'm gonna kind of start with, we've been discussing Huffman Road for quite some time, many years even before my tenure with the city. As you know, Huffman Drive is a industrial commercial road that runs west off of Hillside. It's approximately a half-mile long, and if you've ever driven down Huffman Road, you're probably lucky if you make it back to Woodlawn. It gets very rough. There's some very big holes in the road, and it is just simply at the end of its service life. There's nothing more that we can do on Huffman Road. We've tried multiple repair options. We've evaluated it. We've done spot repairs. We've done partial repairs. And through talking with our engineers, we know that the only true fix to that road down there is complete reconstruction, tearing the whole thing up and putting a whole new road in. The engineers have determined that the existing base is insufficient, therefore it just makes it impossible to repair. We can Thomas and his guys throw dirt in those holes about every 6 months, and it just pushes it further and further down, and then they put more on top and pushes it down, so there's just no base under there to support anything. So a full depth reconstruction is the only viable option for that. So I've met with, our city engineers have met with the business owners and property owners down along Huffman several times. We've talked about it in council meetings. We, kicked around, who should pay for what? Should the property owners be responsible for paying a portion of that road repair? Should the city be responsible for paying for it? There's been a lot of back and forth, and even though some of the meetings that we've had have been, I don't want to say heated, but there's been some passion in those meetings. People very passionate about how the road should be paid for, how it should be fixed. I do want to thank the property owners down there because we really came a long way in the last 18 months to 24 months on coming up with a solution for that road and how it's going to be fixed. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. A lot of the property owners expressed concerns regarding the deferred maintenance of that road. That's one thing, unfortunately, we have to concede to as a city, is it has not been maintained. Back in, I think it was the early 90s, probably, we don't know the exact date, that road was basically gifted to the city. There's some argument of what the road was initially used for. If it was a road that was used for the 254 reconstruction and service road, why it was initially put in, but that's really a new point at this time because it's being used for an industrial park now, or to support an industrial park. So we talked about those things. There were different opinions in, of course, the maintenance history of the road. It now handles heavy truck traffic, which it never handled before. So I think there is a valid argument that, it may have been designed to a certain standard to withhold regular residential and light traffic at one time, but as that area has evolved into a commercial and industrial area, now it's handling heavy truck traffic, and that is adding to the degradation of the road as well. So from a staff position and funding responsibility, Huffman Drive is a public street. It's owned and maintained by the city. Staff believes that the city should assume the primary responsibility for the reconstruction cost, with caveat that council can still discuss and should have some options for improvements beyond that. So that would be if Huffman Drive is extended further west to connect with Oliver in the future, maybe those costs be assessed back to the adjacent property owners for that addition of the road. If those property owners want a cul-de-sac or something other than a dead end down there, maybe we consider those costs being assessed back to the properties there if that's their desire. Approaches coming off the street onto the property, if they want those concrete rather than asphalt, or asphalt rather than concrete, or something more than just a basic approach, that would be something we would discuss with them as well as a cost sharing in that aspect too. So we looked at several different options. We looked at an asphalt option, a concrete, and what they call roller compacted concrete. I think the timeline of working on this over the last 18 to 24 months actually served us well, because at the onset of this, we didn't know about the roller compacted concrete. Roller compacted concrete is a newer type of surface. It's been around the last 10 to 15 years, and it's primarily used in commercial and industrial areas. Park City's used it. It's been used over in Bel Air a little bit. Valley Center just did a project with it. Mays did a project with it. And those cities have been very happy with what this product has supplied them. It's a very dense, hard concrete that it's made to stand up to heavy truck traffic, and it served them very well. So a good example is over in Park City, where they're building the new aquarium over there, that Air Cap Drive. The new portions of that that's poured with RCC, roller compacted concrete. I've driven over there several times. You can't tell the difference between roller compacted and regular concrete, drive-wise at low speed. They say they don't use it on highways because it's not as smooth as regular concrete or asphalt, but it's ideal for lower speed commercial type applications. Another advantage to the roller compacted concrete is the time it takes to put it down. On this specific project over here, a traditional concrete pour or asphalt reconstruction would probably take 4 to 8 months, depending on the weather, the time of year that you did it, would require a lot of time. Roller compacted concrete, because of the process, will only take about 8 days. They will do it in 2 different pours, 4 days in one pour, 4 days in the other, and they'll be done. So it's going to have a lot less downtime and access issues than the traditional type reconstruction of the roadway would have. One of the greatest things, or best things that we found, is because of the technology, it is significantly cheaper than both asphalt and concrete. So we went out, we had 3 construction companies come out and give us some estimates, ran them through PEC. For asphalt, we would be looking at about $845,000 for reconstruction of that road. There is one caveat to that. Asphalt, we were just notified last week, is going to go up by 25% starting July 1st because of the oil prices. So that would escalate that quite a bit. Traditional concrete would be about $1.1 million to rebuild that roadway over there. So my recommendation to council, after talking to the property owners down there, I do want to address one other thing. The property owners down there, and I didn't put this in my report, but those properties have a significant amount of specials on them that they are paying down there. There was a sewer line extension that had to be done to support the Kechi industrial park up around where meter engineering is. And those properties bore the cost of that expansion up Huffman Drive to the tune of about $60,000 per property down there. So I'm going to bring it up here. Get to the right computer. This is a GIS view of the properties on Huffman Drive over there. And I'm going to walk up here because this little thing of this doesn't do us justice here. So there's 15 affected properties along Huffman Drive. This is Woodlawn, goes back to the west over here. I'm sorry if you guys can't all see, but I'll do my best here. So there's 15 affected properties. They're outlined in the green here. These 3 properties right here are currently vacant, okay? Over about the last 18 months, I've had one developer and one real estate agent contact me about potential specials being placed on these properties in addition to what they have for any road reconstruction. One was a landscaping company, the other was a realtor, and they didn't disclose what business was going down there. But both of them said that the sale of that property depended on any additional specials being assessed to those properties down there. These 2 properties right here have about $60,000 worth of specials still assessed. This one has about $45,000 worth of specials assessed from that sewer project. All of these along here are functioning businesses. We have one here, and he has expressed to me, we paid a lot of money for that sewer line down there and being a part of that commercial district there. So there's many factors that play into my recommendation. That is one of the big ones for the property owners is they feel that they paid plenty their fair share. Some claim disproportionately. I'm not arguing that, but they no doubt have paid their fair share of specials down there. I do know from talking to those potential buyers of those lots that is going to be a limiting factor for people. If we stack additional specials on those lots, it's going to probably impede the sale of those lots, and that's not what we want to do. Is hold up any development in that area, especially with other things that are going on. So when we think long term for the city, I think it's advantageous for the city to consider paying for that at an at-large project and not assessing it back to the property owners there. So what we would ask for tonight is approval of the proposal from Andale Construction. Their proposal is for $691,190.72 is the price tag for the reconstruction. That includes a 1% bonding charge that would be added onto there as well. Of course, we would need to get a contract from them. Andrew and I would work on that before we would do anything else. And approve Andale as a sole source vendor for this project. Normally, a project like this, if it were concrete, traditional concrete or asphalt, would be put out to bid to other construction companies. Andale Concrete, using the roller compacted concrete, is the only construction company in this region that does it. The next closest would be Nebraska. So they are a sole source vendor. Nobody else does that around here. In fact, when we were talking to PEC about engineering this project, with the roller compactor, we don't have to incur any of those engineering costs because Andale Concrete sets the specs for those projects because they are the only one here that does it. So that is another advantage to the roller compacted is we would not incur those engineering fees. We would have material testing fees, administrative fees, inspection fees that would come through PEC in a separate contract for those as well. So what we would ask tonight is approval of the bid for from Andale Construction to include the 1% bonding fee and to approve them as a sole source vendor for this project.
Subject to a contract.
Subject to a contract, of course, yes. Council, I am open to any questions you have.
Just curious, you may not know this, but with Andale Concrete being responsible for specs on that, you know a dollar amount that saves us in not having to pay PEC for engineering?
It's usually a percentage of the project. A project like this, Andrew, you might help me, I think it's like 12.5%. Is that kind of standard that's assessed to there? So, you know,
they'll still have, PEC will still have expenses, right?
Right, they will.
Right.
Sure. So we're, without the engineering fees, we're probably saving $55,000 to $60,000.
But then we also have a 1% bonding to add back on to the total cost.
No, that's included in this recommendation.
Oh, it is included.
And every public project would have that bonding cost. It wouldn't matter which one you went with.
Yeah.
I do have a question. What's the revenue source to pay the bonds?
Yeah.
That would be.
Well, the revenue source would be regular property tax revenue for the city, but I do want to touch on that just a little bit. So that's a good question, Mayor. So currently, the property tax revenues from those businesses down there the city generates approximately $38,000 a year from those 15 properties. Approximately $300,000 in specials are currently being paid by the property owners along that corridor for the expansion of that sewer to serve the Kechi Industrial Park. And those vacant properties, like we talked, have current special assessments ranging from $44,000 to $60,000 per lot. So to answer your question, current revenues that the city generates from that area is approximately $38,000. Making improvements to that road, like I explained, would increase those vacant properties' appeal to potential buyers. That's what we want to do. We want to help those properties sell. Once those develop, then we capture the additional property tax revenue from those properties as well. Don't know what that would be because we don't know what type of businesses would go there, but anything is better than a vacant lot.
I guess one of my things thinking forward is that those vacant lots, I would hope that we wouldn't necessarily consider tax incentives for those lots, because then we're gonna lose the property tax dollars we actually need to pay for the road that they would not have to pay into.
Yeah, I think that's a valuable consideration. It's nothing that I would want to say we're going to do because we don't know what businesses are going to go in
I think there should be great.
and how they're going to impact the city or what value they're going to be to the growth of our city or the function of our city. So,
Yeah.
but that could definitely be something.
And what's our current cost for maintenance currently for that road?
So
Are we
over about
spending?
over about the last 5 years, we've put $40,000 to $50,000 in maintenance into that road. Just last year was a big chunk of it. We put about $30,000 into that road. And if you think about it, that's just rock going in there. You know, it's a lot of rock going into that road.
So this is a new type of roadway that's being used for industrial. Is there any concerns with the type of subsurface that they're putting down? Are there any concerns on Huffman Road? Like, is it mostly the trucks that are causing the damage, or is there any potential, say, like Bel Air, Woodlawn ran into a major issue underneath? Do we have anything underground that we're concerned about for this roadway?
We do not. What part of this process is this roller compacted concrete. They actually bring a machine on site and it grinds up and reclaims all the asphalt that's in place and all of the base, and it's basically a big rototiller. It rototills it all up, they compact it down, they remove what they need to remove, and then they bring another machine in that injects a concrete slurry into that reclamated base and mixes it up and creates a very hard base, and then they put the roller compacted concrete over that.
And will this be done as a jointed road with jointed sections, so that if there's need for repair, that they're only taking out one section,
Oh,
not
yeah.
like one hole?
Yeah, they have to cut concrete so it doesn't crack. Yeah. I guess to answer your question, it wouldn't be in pieces, but
No, it's like sections. You're only doing sections of it. So you have different. You often go across concrete. You've got like a sidewalk almost, where you've got sections upon sections, or they're doing it
no, it
all
would
in
be
one.
a complete solid pour that would have relief cuts in it to prevent crack.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Council? So, on the discussion, it's looking for, because there's, do you have one there what you're looking for? So you're looking for approval for the proposal, is that correct?
Yeah, for the approval for Indel Construction to include 1% bonding fee in the amount not to exceed $691,190.72 for the reconstruction of Huffman Drive utilizing roller compacted concrete, and further recommend approval of the Indel Construction as the sole source vendor due to the specialized nature of RCC roller compacted concrete installation process and lack of comparable regional providers.
All subject to a future contract. Come in front of me.
There's the legal part.
Yes, it'll be presented to us.
Yes.
Ma'am, is this gonna affect any of our other street projects, namely.
Should not affect our street projects. Our funding mechanism for this would be to issue bonds. One of the advantages to issuing bonds is it's far easier for the city to manage its long-term debt and immediate needs because you're spreading, you're taking a loan and you're spreading those payments out that are paid back with property tax revenue. As that area grows, there'll be additional property tax to help pay those bonds back as well. So it should not affect anything that we currently have. Geo bonds are the primary source for funding big infrastructure needs like this that cities use. And Andrew, I'm sure, can talk more on that.
Anything you want to know? No, it's not. This hasn't exactly been a surprise, but it's come to the point where we acknowledge we have to do something.
Yeah, it really has, and I think it's imperative that we make a decision on this. It has been going on for a long time. There's been a lot of back and forth. And one thing that we've realized is when the city initially started talking about this 10 or 15 years ago, the cost was, $200,000 to $300,000 to rebuild this road. And the more we talk about it, the more we kick the can down the road, the more expensive it gets. It's just like anything in life or in government, nothing ever gets cheaper, including big projects like this. Concrete continues to go up, labor costs continue to go up. We could wait a year or two and look at this, and we may be over $1 million for this exact same repair that we're asking for today. I know it's a big number. It's a manageable number when we finance it the way that we're going to. It's very palatable to the city, and something that really isn't going to affect our budget that much.
What's the approximate cost per year to repay the bonds compared to the property tax income?
We'd have to, we actually have a meeting with the city's financial advisor next week. That's who generally prepares that. But if you look at the options between a 15 or 20 year bond and rates somewhere around 4.5% today, you can kind of do it back to the envelope. But we have a financial advisor that puts together those estimates. Of course, that goes out to bid just like everything else does, and so the rates come in at what they are, and we know for sure. So I don't know that I have that answer right off the top of my head, but it is something that we're meeting with Piper Sandler about next week, and we'd have their estimates, which are usually pretty darn close. They have their finger on the market, relatively soon. And I'll point out in that same vein, we have other projects the city's looking at also. And of course, we have the temp notes for the Turtle Creek improvements that will eventually need to go to permanent bond. And so this may not be something that is an isolated debt issuance. It's probably going to be combined in some fashion with some of the other things that we're doing and we're talking about. And so that, of course, has economies of scale to it as well.
I don't have any questions. I'll just make a comment. This is something that we've been kicking down the road and just doing repairs on for years. And I feel like we, as a council, this being on the streets of the city of Kechi, we have a responsibility to the business owners over there to take care of this issue. I don't want to use the term once and for all, but once and for all. But we've been kicking the can down the road and just been dumping money into repair, dumping money into repair. And my opinion is that we have a responsibility to correct it.
I would agree.
Entertain the will of council. What would you like to do?
Make a motion that we approve the approval of the proposal from Mandale Construction to include a 1% bonding fee in the amount not to exceed $691,190.72 for reconstruction of Huffman Drive.
Subject to future contract.
Subject to a future contract.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Dwyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Alright, moving on to new business, main traffic way ordinance for Huffman Drive.
Mayor and Council, Andrew's gonna handle this. This is all the legal stuff associated with the decision you just made, and we will answer any questions that you have.
So the same topic, actually this and the next item, I'll explain them all at once, and you take it as you see fit, are both related to Huffman Drive. And so as we discussed, the intent is to finance this with GO bonds, and in order to do that, some of the legal paths that we need to take is first to declare that road under state law what's called a main traffic way, because that is the mechanism by which we can authorize issue debt to build that project. So the first ordinance under 9A is simply declaring Huffman Drive, as it exists within the city limits, as a main traffic way of the city of Kechi. Then 9B, right after that, is the actual authorizing ordinance. So it authorizes not only the start of the project, but it authorizes us to start, like your bond counseling and financial advisors, to start that process of going out and working towards an ultimate bond issue. It sets a line in the sand that if we do need to start spending money on some design or any initial costs, the city can go ahead and pay those and then get reimbursed out of the ultimate debt issuance. And it just gives all the authority for those things to happen and to get started on that. Now, this will come back in front of you in various forms in a couple different ways before you borrow any money. And so this is certainly not the last time that you will have something to approve before we get to ultimate debt issuance. Happy to answer any questions about any that you like.
Council, any questions?
The ordinances need to be separate?
Yes.
Question I have before we move forward, there's no ordinance numbers on either of these, do we
Yeah,
have those?
we have ordinance numbers. We didn't want to issue them in case things were not approved, and then we have.
And when I send them into the city, I don't have the ordinance numbers, so the city assigns them after, once we know exactly which one they're there.
Oh,
Yeah, and Debbie has those numbers that we can plug into the motion tonight as well. We have those already.
that was mine.
So Andrew, the first motion can be, make a motion to approve the main traffic way ordinance. Is that all it needs to be, with no number?
Do we have a number?
We have a number.
Yeah, if you give me the number, that would be great.
1870-26.
And what's B?
1871-26.
I would entertain the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, ordinance number 1870-26 for the main traffic way ordinance.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Baldridge, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 1871-26, project authorizing ordinance for Huffman Drive.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Baldridge, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to 9C, Casey's Developers Agreement. City Administrator Gentry.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you is the Casey's Developers Agreement. We discussed a couple meetings ago with the proposed Casey's store going in at 61st or Kechi Road and Woodlawn. One of the things that the city requested was some assurance that if we did improvements to the roadway, which they requested as part of this project, and the reason they requested those improvements was because of the site work that needed to be done at that location. If you're familiar with that location, it's low. It needs to be raised, brought up to elevation to connect with our roadway there. The other thing is we want to assure as a city that improvements are going to be done to that corridor to improve the safety of the corridor and not leave it up to somebody else to promise to do those. We want to make sure those are done correctly to allow for traffic to flow as efficiently as it can with the addition of this store in that area. So that's what this developers agreement does. It's an agreement between the Casey's Corporation and the city of Kechi that sets certain requirements and timelines that we will both meet. One of the most important is that The city agrees to make improvements to the road by December 31st of this year, and Casey's agrees to build on that site. And I think that same deadline is December 31st of this year. So we would make improvements and they would build. So our assurance is there that we are not gonna make improvements to that road and they're gonna decide to go to a different location. So these are our assurances from Casey's that will occur. Andrew, do you have anything additional to add to this?
Not, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I did write this agreement, so.
Council, any questions?
So just some curiosity questions. So, the improvement to this road, are we way ahead of ourselves by talking about asphalt concrete, roller compacted concrete?
We're not, because it's still in the design phase.
Okay.
So part of this agreement says that we, as the city, will have our final design plans, which are being worked on right now, to the Casey's Corporation by June 30th of this year for their review.
So do we have to tell them what type of surface we're gonna put down?
No, they don't care what type of surface.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's my
they
question. Yeah.
They need our plans so they can get their grade and their drives to where they need to be, okay? So that's a very important first step for them. We don't know if it's gonna be concrete or asphalt or RCC at this point. At this point, this project would go out to bid for traditional asphalt and concrete. PEC is working on the design standards for that. They have provided us with an estimate for this project. Just a second. And I'm rounding this number up, $237,000 for construction of this project. Now, in the ordinances that you will be presented with, that number is a little bit higher for a not to exceed amount or any contingencies. We don't know if we're gonna have to relocate some of those West Star poles that are on the south side of the road or not. We haven't got that far yet, but we are pretty confident. PEC is very good at getting us very close to what the cost is gonna be, and we are very confident that we're gonna hit right about that $237,000 for those improvements in that area. With that said, and I may be jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but with the Casey store coming in, we are gonna have, again, additional property tax revenue. They are not asking for any tax incentives, no IRBs. They just wanna build a store, open the doors and go to business and start making money. Those stores in this region typically run about $1.5 million in assessed valuation. So we will capture that tax revenue from that commercial property. We don't know what their exact sales are. That is somewhat proprietary information. In situations like this, they just don't disclose that to the public. They don't, for competition purposes. But knowing what other stores in this region make, we can expect as a city for general retail sales tax to collect per year about $18,000 to $20,000 on just general sales tax. On top of that, we would collect fuel tax, we would collect liquor tax from liquor sales, and there may be a diesel fuel tax too, because that's gonna be, they'll have diesel fuel in there. So there will be additional revenues that the city will collect from that location as well.
Is that a combined sales tax between the 1% and?
No, that would be our 1% cut of that is 18,000 to 20,000.
Okay, which is dedicated to a specific project at this point.
It's a general sales tax for the city that is earmarked for the intersection project, to pay for that intersection project, but it is a general sales tax that was passed in the city.
Right, so that money would be going back towards that intersection project.
First.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. And there's still 3 more phases to that project.
Well, nothing that's been approved.
Right, absolutely. But that's what's in the city plans, is that there's still 3 more phases for the arts and business district, which is what the 1% was for. It says here that your funding source is cash reserves. Which fund are we discussing, and the fund balance?
Well, Andrew and I have talked about a couple different options.
We still have.
So, yeah, we still have options. So this would, at the time we talked, the time I developed the agenda summary for this, it was from cash reserves then being reimbursed through bonds that would be issued for this project, so.
Will that be part of the discussion when you're meeting with the financial next week, like the total
Yes.
costs involved?
Yeah.
And how does this also then affect or impact CIP, future CIP?
Yeah, this time it doesn't, we have ample funds in cash reserves, and $250,000 is not gonna have a major effect on anything.
Well,
And if those, no, I'm sorry.
yeah, and if you finance it with bonds, then it doesn't go through the CIP.
That's, yeah, right.
Council, any additional questions?
Just to be clear that the agreement does state that they will not be requesting any IRD or.
That is correct.
Does no incentives.
Is that also?
Including NRP. It
Okay,
does.
including NRP.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your question.
Because it goes to Woodlawn. I do have one question. Has PUC indicated, because this is obviously going to increase heavy truck traffic that's going to be going in and out of Casey's, how is that going to impact the overpass at Woodlawn? Because originally my understanding was that it wasn't really designed for heavy truck traffic at those levels of Woodlawn. I mean, even the K254 has talked about Woodlawn just.
I've never heard that information, that it wasn't designed for heavy truck.
Okay.
I mean, obviously heavy trucks go over it right now, it's from KDOT.
Yeah.
And the trucking companies over there, so
Going to
the
impact
bridge itself is a KDOT bridge.
Okay.
So replacement of anything on the bridge decking surface is the
Okay.
responsibility of
Great.
KDOT, not the city of Kechi.
Great. Thank you. And how far, is this only going to be on Kechi Road, or will it won't go on to Woodlawn at all?
No, it will go from that intersection back to the west, about to that little strip center that's out there. When we get the final design plans, we'll bring it to you.
Okay. Any further questions, council? If not, I would entertain a motion what your desire is.
I move we approve the developers agreement with Casey's Retail Company and authorize the mayor to sign.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the ordinances. Is that gonna be Andrew again?
Yeah, I'm happy
Okay.
to do it. These, actually, the next two, I'll take them again at the same time,
Yep.
are exactly what you just did for Huffman Drive. So the very first ordinance is declaring 61st Street within the city limits a main traffic way. So if we keep this on file, we should never have to do it again for that street anywhere in town. And then the second ordinance authorizes moving forward with that actual improvement project that we just discussed. And again, allows you to then reimburse if you spend cash on it to get it finished, reimburse them and ultimate bond at some point in the future.
Do we have ordinance numbers?
Yep.
Number 72 and 73.
The main traffic ordinance is 1872-26. And the project authorization ordinance is 1873-26.
Entertain a motion when you're ready.
I move we approve main traffic ordinance 1872-26.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hedstrom, second by Councilmember Brewer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
I'll make a motion for project authorization 1873-26.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Dwyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to Community Action Plan Phase 1 document.
Mayor, I'll let you handle this. You requested that it be put on the agenda.
I did, I figured you would. This this is a project that has been several years in the works with PEC, working with the governing body and the community to develop the community action plan for future growth and development for the city of Kechi. You all probably remember at the very back of it, I think it was in 2025, it had your specific, what's important to us, a list of top community priorities that were identified in 2023, surveying the city and asking the citizens what was important to them. So this plan has just been sitting out there, and we need to consider reviewing it and adopting it to be put in with our other city plans. The main focus in this community action plan is highlighting water, sewer, and gas infrastructure priority. That there are some constraints on future growth and development is identified in this plan. And talks about the walkability, which is our 1% sales tax that was passed in 2023. And PEC is also ready to propose, or nearly ready, to offer us phase 2 that would help us develop, prioritize what we're doing, money's needed, the financials, all of that is included. So this is many years, significant financial investment in putting all this together as we continue to work with PEC to determine Kechi's future. Anybody have anything they would like to discuss? No? I do have one question, and I have brought this up before. So on the Kechi Historic Population page, there's no page numbers on here, I just realized. It says that our population in 2020 from the census was 2,217. And then on the next page, it says our total population is 2,949. That's like a jump in over 700 people. So that's, to me, a discrepancy. And did we annex? How is there such a huge difference in population between 2020 and 2022?
No, as you'll recall, I think you were at the meetings. We talked about this with PEC, right? So they just need to update the census data in this, and what they have recommended was, rather than updating this plan with that information when we move to phase 2, to do that, to update that census information is part of the community action plan phase 2, change those numbers in here and move forward with phase 2, rather than just doing the adjustments to phase 1.
Okay. So there's lots of information in here for us. Council, would you like to adopt? And I don't know what the motion is, adopt and file in city records.
You just adopt the plan, and it becomes sort of a policy guidepost for the city in the future, kind of like in a motion or a resolution. It's not like a law or ordinance.
So that's to do that with phase 1.
With phase 1, and we're waiting to hear. We haven't gotten a proposal yet for phase 2. And that was the finance and the strategy of how we're going to move forward.
Growth trends and
things
like that. Yeah.
That we're still waiting to get that proposal from them.
So what would that motion look like, Andrew? I think we're all kind of like.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You could make a motion to receive and file the community action plan phase 1. I think would be sufficient.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And then phase 2, once we have the numbers for, we come to our for our approval to do all that. Okay.
I make a motion to receive and file phase 1 of the community action plan.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Hedstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay. moving on to strategic planning agreement, City Administrator Jensby.
Mayor and Council, this is being brought back to you. We discussed it a couple meetings ago. It is for the GovGuide consulting firm to come in and do a strategic planning workshop with the governing body to include the mayor as part of the budget process this year. This process, he would conduct surveys of the governing body, department heads prior to the meeting, gather feedback regarding goals, priorities, and organizational perspectives, facilitate a 2-hour strategic planning meeting, and coordinate scheduling of the retreat at a mutually agreeable date, and provide a written summary report of his findings. What this will really help us with is our short to mid-term goals, as it has to do with our budget planning and going into the budget season. We know what our long-term goals are. We know what those big ticket items are, infrastructure needs and different things like this. But this really helps hone our short-term and mid-term, our 1, 2, 3 year goals going into the budget season, so we can identify those and focus on those as we develop our CIP and some of our other objectives in our 2027 budget.
I do have some questions on that because we've been working with PEC for so long. So why the consideration of bringing in another source when we've already been working with PEC for so many years?
Yeah, PEC doesn't do this exact type of thing. So he specializes on doing this strategic type planning with smaller cities like us. Sometimes it's nice to have an independent person come in and do those evaluations rather than relying on staff to provide that information. We're always providing you with information, but having an independent person come out and pull the council, pull the staff, put all everything together and come up with a recommendation for some goals and objectives for the city as we enter the budget season, I think is very good.
Yeah, I think it's separate from PEC because PEC evaluates our engineering needs, our cost of construction, building, where what you're proposing is a more comprehensive, robust look at all of life in Kechi and where we want to put our resources.
What some of our immediate needs
What some of our immediate needs are. I know a few years ago that was staffing our police department. So that would be included in the annual budget process. So in my mind, Mayor, that's kind of where I see the differences, is separating two.
On the last page, it says that the deadline for acceptance is May 15th. Is that an issue?
We just need to update that date.
Okay. Any further questions or conversation? Other than that, I would entertain a motion for the will of council.
I make a motion to approve the GovGuide consulting agreement and authorize the city administrator to sign.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Brewer, second by Councilmember Baldwin. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Going into discussion, council reports, discussion, and requests. Council, do you have any reports or requests that you would like to make? Nope. Okay. We have one item on here, fragrance policy. This is actually not something I wanted to have to bring forth as a policy, but fortunately it's gotten to this point. I've actually included an email that I sent and had conversation with the city in March of 2023 regarding my multiple chemical sensitivities, and asked for accommodation at that time for wax melts that were in the lobby. And I have tried to not make this a major issue. I try to adjust always with my own medical needs. And I did request on 12/12/26 for no scented candles in City Hall. City Administrator Jensby denied that request, that the clerks can have candles in their office, but scented candles actually permeate the building. And when we have executive session, for some meetings, I need access to the conference room or City Administrator Gensby's office, which puts me into exposure of that area of the building. I have had some issues. I wanted a very simple request, just asking for no scented candles. But now we're looking at a formal fragrance policy. I asked more than once for this, but was denied each time. If you don't want to consider a fragrance policy, we're not actually passing anything tonight. There's more in this fragrance policy that is before you in draft form than I wanted, but yet it was there was no discussion about putting it together. And it was based off the state of Kansas, their fragrance-free workplace. I did not ask for all city buildings. I didn't ask for the community room to be affected. And in general, I have been able to navigate, but I do have issues with scented candles, and it does cause negative health impact on me. So, if this is something you want to consider going forward, or what you want to do, it's up to you. You're the decision makers.
Mayor and council, I would like to clarify something in the mayor's statement. The mayor and I have had discussions about this before. Councilmember Hedstrom was present during one of those discussions. And we were sensitive and understanding to your request. We said that we would not have any scented items in the council chambers, the foyer of City Hall, the front desk of City Hall, or the conference room of City Hall to make reasonable accommodations for you being in those areas. So I do want to clarify that because that was not a true statement that we had not made reasonable accommodations for your request.
I said that I asked for no scented candles. That's the one thing I asked for, and you said no. So, that you were still going to allow that. So, that's okay. Thank you.
What I'm presenting here is my suggestion to how we handle this. Most other cities handle these issues with policies that are contained in their personnel policy. In our new policy manual that you are about ready to get, we fixed our formatting issues, and you should receive it pretty soon for review. This is the fragrance, I guess you could say, or policy that we have. Let me make sure I got the right one. Yep. It's under section 8.3, employee appearance, grooming, and workplace fragrance policy. In any situation where we have a city employee who may need special accommodations for anything, we do make reasonable accommodations for those employees. We don't make blanket accommodations saying that because of one person, nobody in the city can have that item or do whatever. But we do make reasonable accommodations for employees. That's how most cities handle it. They don't just have carte blanche policies that say you can't have anything in any city facility or any office. Anytime there would be a shared office where multiple people in that office, one person may have a sensitivity to something, we make reasonable accommodations for that. So my suggestion would be, rather than doing a formal policy from the council, that you look at this and we continue to handle it internally with our personnel policy.
And council, if you don't want to go the direction of policy, I have no problem if we have future executive sessions held in the community room, and I can have other meetings that I need to attend be held in the chambers. So I'm kind of doing that as well. So that'll be up to the governing body.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here. I want to be respectful of your needs, and but I'm concerned about making a blanket ordinance to cover our buildings. Andrew, can you briefly explain ADA responsibilities in this? I think.
Sure. So, in general, just like everything else related to the ADA, if an employee or member of the public has a recognized medical condition that impairs functionality, then we are obligated to make reasonable accommodations for that. Of course, that is a real high level concept, and then you have to figure out what does that mean in practical terms.
I mean, Mayor, my opinion is that we be sensitive as much as we can to making reasonable accommodations for you. As mentioned, executive session, I hate to make an ordinance.
I didn't ask for a policy to begin with.
I'm sorry?
I didn't ask for a policy to begin with.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't. I just asked for accommodation. I just asked for no scented candles. That's really all I asked for to begin with.
Okay. I thought you were asking for an ordinance.
That's the way that it went.
Mayor, you did request an ordinance, and then I requested Andrew draft the
That was
ordinance.
well into asking for no scented candles, and there was no resolution, and so then you said, do you want a formal policy? And I said, that's fine then. But then the policy, there was no discussion, and it was way more than what I was asking for. So, that's okay. Like I said, if we want to just meet in the community room, that's fine for executive sessions, if that's the way the council wants to go.
We're closing off the conference room and getting that whole filled like I wanted.
We've already done it.
Oh,
We have done it. We have done
That's
it.
not having that separation.
There is good separation with that as long as no employees wearing perfume, because otherwise it traps the perfume in the room. So, yep. So as I said, meet in chambers, or in a bigger space.
Mayor, what exactly would make you happy with what we need to do?
I just asked for no scented candles, that's what I asked for. That was the only issue that I had. I try not to ask for much in accommodation. I try to deal with everything the best that I can without impacting other people. So.
And the perfume, I mean, the other is okay.
Well, I've dealt with it. I've dealt with it. A larger space obviously makes it a lot easier. Once you go into a closed space, it makes it much more difficult. Mm-hmm. So, I tried to be very reasonable in my request. So, anyway, that's just discussion. There doesn't have to have any decision tonight.
I just want to do a hearing check here. It sounds like it's been resolved, is it not?
No.
Okay.
No, the
So
courts
what-
can have scented candles in their office and burn them. So if I have to be in a meeting behind staff doors, it's like there's a smell, and they may not be burning, but commercial scented candles, the fragrance continues on even if they're not burning necessarily. And my other thing is that I did have an employee who asked me about essential oils. I have no issues whatsoever with essential oils.
And that was me. I have a very high anxiety level, and they help me calm down. If I've got vanilla musk or if I've got peppermint, my husband's here, he can vouch for that.
I use essential oils as well.
That's the only way sometimes I can cope to get through my day is to have all those smells.
Paul said, kind of answer your questions, because these are they're dealt with on a case by case basis, and every allergy or sensitivity is to kind of a specific thing, not just a general thing. What we require is that person to produce a note from a doctor saying what the issue is and what we can do as an employer to accommodate for that. So, for example, if somebody's allergic to pine scented candles, okay, and they bring a doctor's note in that says this person's allergic to pine scented candles, it would benefit them if you removed all pine scented candles from the area. We would do that. But it's very hard for us to, I guess, manage people not only for the scented candles, but if we're talking about perfume and cologne, do we have to send people home that day because they have perfume or cologne on? We will make, and we always have, make reasonable accommodations for any employee or person coming into City Hall.
So as I said again, we can have executive sessions in the community room, that's fine, behind the door. And if there's other meetings, I am happy to have meetings in the chamber if there's meetings with staff that need to So if that's your preference on how you would like to deal with it. Like I said, I was trying to solve it simply and it became complicated, so.
My recommendation would be that we continue to mitigate this through our personnel policy, as we would any other employee. Unless Andrew has other direction.
Okay, before we move on to our last item, or as we move on to our last item, I just want to confirm, Councilmember Brewer, you will not be available June 11th?
I will be out of town for business.
Okay, and Councilmember Hedstrom?
I will be unavailable.
And Councilmember Dwyer, you're also unavailable on June 11th. Okay, so I would entertain a motion for a recess so we're canceling the June 11th city council meeting, and then a motion to recess to June 25th for a budget workshop at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Heston, second by Councilmember Baldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. Thank you for attending this HI City Council meeting.